This morning, we are very delighted to have a distinguished guest from Indonesia with us, Dr. Ferry Irawan, am I pronounced right? Acting Deputy for Macroeconomic and Financial Coordination at Coordinating Ministry for Economic Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia. He is part of the leadership team that drive the reform in the Indonesian gold sector, which only happened last 2 years. You will have to be amazed with the speed of the changes that Indonesia is undertaking. And the SBMA member, and a few of them, like the World Gold Council, like the ICBC Standard, UOB, and Stonehenge, are all actually engaging with them in a short space of 2 or 3 year time. And we are making progress. May I introduce Mr. Ferry Irawan to the podium and deliver his special speech about the Indonesian bullion banking business. Dr. Ferry, thank you.
Thank you, Pak Albert, for very nice introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, esteemed stakeholders in the mining industry, investors, business players, government representatives, and all attendees. First, I would like to thank to Pak Albert and SBMA for inviting Indonesian delegation and all the SBMA support for the Indonesian Bullion Bank. It is very great honor for me to deliver a speech to such important forum where we gather with the shared purpose to promote responsible, inclusive, and sustainable development in the global gold sectors. Today, I stand before you to reaffirm the government of Indonesia's strong commitment to policy reform in gold sectors. A strategic sector that not only plays a vital role in our national economy, but also represent our broader responsibility to manage natural resource in sustainable and equitable manner. So our colleague already present before regarding the global economic development and more deep on the ASEAN. Let me more deep on Indonesian case. So let me sharing the story of Indonesian growth resilience. If you can see in this slide, in the first quarter of 2025, our economy still demonstrated exceptional strength with the 4.87% year-on-year growth. This performance placed Indonesia ahead of many G20 countries and maintain our competitive position among ASEAN nations. This growth is not accidental. It reflects our strategic reform, structural improvement, and unwavering commitment to sustainable development through our National Medium-Term Plan 2025 until 2029. Our achievement is built on a comprehensive strategic framework. As I mentioned before, we have what we call the National Medium-Term Plan 2025 until 2029 that is set up of our trajectory toward the foundation of Golden Indonesian 2045. So we have what we call the Golden Vision 2045. So this is the milestone for the achieving that target, long-term target. So one of the target that set up under this document is that we have a planned target to have 8% economic growth. This is we do with the strategic focus on multiple sectors. First, of course, the manufacturing industry. Right now, the contribution of manufacturing industry is around 19-20%. With this target, we hope that not only manufacturing industry, but we want to develop the high added value. On the second, of course, the services sector that supporting by the productivity, digitalization, and of course the financial development. As colleague from the we mentioned, we have also a strong growth from the agriculture sectors. support by food self-sufficiency program that become of one of priority of the government. On the total GDP growth is, I mentioned it, 4.8%, but for the agricultural sector, for the first quarter, we growth around 10%. So this become of the one of the key sector of our government. The other sector that we want to expect that become a contributor is that the construction, supporting by the infrastructure development, and of course, because investment is always a key for the GDP growth, we have also target for investment through the FDI and also the non-state budget financing. Early of this year, the government already announced what we call the Danantara, the super holding that manage all the SOE and asset of government. We expect that with this Danantara, we hope that become a catalyst for more investment in coming in Indonesia. But of course, as we know that, next slide. But of course, as you already know that we are also facing the global challenge, especially after the Trump 2.0 tariff policy. Based on the previous announcement of government Trump, the reciprocal tariff that we should take is around 32%. And because of that, most international organizations revised down the global economic outlook for 2025 and 2026 for fear for the decreasing of global demand. Factoring the global dynamic and with all the risks and uncertainty, we still optimistic that Indonesia economic can still grow around 5%. That's why in the short run, how do we mitigate the tariff is one of the key policy that we introduce. Right now we are still negotiate with the US government to have more favorable tariff, not 32%. In short run, we also just announced what we call the stimulus package to stimulate our economy on the first quarter and also the second quarter. We hope that by doing that, at the end of the year, this year, we still grow around 5%. In the midterm, our economy strategy encompasses 4 key pillars to face the strong headwind in the global economy. First, the export market and trade partner diversification. We try to reducing the dependence on traditional market by expanding access to non-traditional market, such Africa and Middle East, while strengthening cooperation within RCEP. Our colleague from UOB already mentioned about this RCEP. We right now try to optimize this agreement. As mentioned, it's around 30% of our GDP, the global GDP. So it's really potential for market access and also investment. The other things that we are also on the process of negotiation on the CPTPP, and regarding this market access, we hope to finalize Indonesian EU SEPA end of this June. So we hope that because of that, given the challenge from the external sector, we still have a good market access for our product and also for the investment. The strategy is always include promoting downstream processing of natural resource to increase added value and employment opportunities, particularly strengthening Indonesian position in the global supply chain and the electric vehicle battery industry. This we hope that become the new engine, the green economy, by developing this electric vehicle battery industry. On the second strategy, the digital transformation and creative economy, we are right now accelerating digital economy adoption in the small, medium enterprise sectors on the creative industries to enhance the competitiveness and economic inclusion. The government also promote development of startup ecosystem and innovation through various incentive and supporting program. And the third strategy, this is that we want to elaborate because it's really related to what we discussed today, the gold sector or the gold industry. The third strategy is downstream industry strengthening. This is where our gold sector initiative align perfectly with our broader economic strategy. We are promoting downstreaming processing of natural resource, not just in gold, but across sectors to increase added value and create significant employment opportunities. On the fourth strategy, this is one of the government priority is food and energy security enhancement. We are increasing domestic production through agricultural modernization and also developing the renewable energy development to reduce import dependence and enhance national resilience. This comprehensive strategic foundation create the perfect environment for what I want to discuss with you today. Our ambitious transformation of Indonesian gold sector as a key component of our downstream industrialization strategy. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned before, we have in the long run, in the midterm, we have a target at % economic growth by the end of 2029, with downstream as one of our main driver. This downstream based industrialization, which is also export-oriented, labor-intensive, and sustainable, is not only promote domestic value creation, but also enhance national economic resilience. Downstreaming serves as the key to structural transformation toward to more competitive and inclusive economy. Let me elaborate on that. Since the enactment of Law Number 4 of 2009, Indonesia has gradually built the regulatory foundation to encourage domestic mineral processing. This policy was strengthened by ban of raw material ore export in 2014, the nickel ore export ban in 2020, and the bauxite export ban in 2023, all aimed at ensuring value creation within the country. Downstreaming has now become the major attraction for investors, including in the gold sector. With abundant gold reserve and pro-downstreaming policies, Indonesia is strengthening its role in global supply chain while unlocking vast opportunities for the development of its domestic precious metal industry. The Freeport Indonesia, PT Freeport Indonesia is one of SOE that one of the major stakeholders is also Freeport, US, has officially delivered its first gold bar to PT Antam, this is also SOE, marking a significant milestone in Indonesian gold downstreaming effort. This makes PT Freeport is the first copper mining company in the country to successfully refine anode sludge into gold bar locally. This is developed in what we call the special economic zone, where this smelter has place. With gold, this factory, the capacity of the gold production capacity is around 50 tons per year. PT Freeport Indonesia just launched this initiative by delivering around 125 kilogram of 99.99% of pure gold bar. This to Antam, PT Antam. This step demonstrates strong support of Indonesian national gold downstreaming and future development of country gold banking ecosystem. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, following our successful industrial downstreaming, expansion into the service sectors become essential. So after this industrial policy, so we hope that we can also develop what we call the service sectors. Indonesia view the development of what we call the servicification, which is comprehensive service integration, as the next step of our downstreaming strategy. The bullion business represents of this next step, where we transform refined gold into accessible financial product. This is by building the service layer around our downstream industrial policy. We create a complete economic ecosystem that serves not only large institutional players, but also enables millions of Indonesian citizens to participate in gold ownership and investment. Fundamentally, expanding the economic impact to our natural resource wealth. So the first step, we try to more domestic production on the gold, and then to have multiple effect of this gold, we establish this bullion banking industry. The establishment of the bullion service business represents the next phase of this gold downstreaming in Indonesia. Backed by the legal framework of Law Number 4/2023, we have a long discussion regarding this legal framework, thanks to Pak Arbet and also World Gold Council that help us on which the legal framework they have a strong foundation for our bullion bank industry. So the government decided that the strong foundation should be under the law. So that's why we introduced the law number 4/2023, and then for the detail of this law, Financial Services Authority also launched the OJK regulation number 17/2024. Later after the discussion, maybe my colleague Pak Aji will give you the detail of this regulation. The government is not only promoting domestic gold processing, but also building a national financial architecture that enables downstream gold product to be integrated into the formal financial system through banking and investment services. The bullion business development began in 2021, culminating in the official launch by our president on the February 26, 2025. So after long discussion, long internal discussion, also using several resource person from the SBMA, World Gold Council, London Bullion Market. We introduced the law number 4 and then OJK regulation. And in February 2026, our president himself launching this bullion first services in Indonesia. This is by the launching of our president, we want to give a message that we have a strong commitment to positioning downstreaming Goldak as part of our national financial product. This initiative expand the economic benefit from downstreaming, promote financial inclusion, and strengthen Indonesian position in the global gold value chains. Based on the law number 4/2023 on the development and strengthening of the financial sector, or what we call in Indonesia is P2SK, and regulation issued by Financial Services Authority, two institutions which are PT Pegadaian and Bank Syariah Indonesia. We have here Bu Elvi, one of director of PT Pegadaian. We also colleague from BSI. These two institutions have officially license to operate bullion-related businesses, including gold saving, gold-backed financing, gold trading, and gold custody services. This mark of significant milestone in integrating the gold sector into Indonesian formal financial system. PT Pegadaian now officially offer services such as gold savings account, gold-backed financing, gold trading, and gold custody. While Bank BSI provide gold custody and trading services. And in the plan, we hope that on the second semester, these two issuance will add to other two product, like the financing, also the saving. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the potential of development bullion-related business activities in Indonesia is immense. This is, we can see the Indonesia as the 10th largest gold producer in the world with 2,600 tons of gold reserve. Indonesia holds also a significant untapped opportunities. However, if we compare to other countries, I think using indicator like the financial market to GDP ratio or the financial deepening, we still have the lowest. So because of that, I think we still, as I mentioned, that we still have untapped opportunities. We still have much room to develop many instruments, including the gold sector, to have a more or larger financial market to GDP ratio. That's why this is substantial opportunity to integrate the country gold's wealth into the formal financial system through this bullion industry. One of the research doing by McKinsey, for example, on the very conservative scenario, we expect that by developing of the bullion businesses, the projected of the increased money circulation in rupiah is around 156 trillion IDR and contribute around 245 trillion to the GDP in the coming years. So we expect that by developing this bullion industry, it will give our additional source of growth regarding this 8% target. We also have estimated number around 1,800 tons of gold held by the public. So this sector paved the way for utilizing gold as the key instrument for national economic development. So in the next few years, I think how we can absorb this gold in the public is one of the area that we want to enhance to make gold sector become of our source of growth and also our source of instrument for the financial deepening in our country. Right now, the government is promoting the establishment of the Indonesian Bullion Market Association, just like SBMA in Singapore. I think if we have a single organization that that help the player communicate and propose to the government, I think it's good for our gold sector development. And then we have a partner as a government to discuss several strategic policy for developing this bullion bank policies, bullion bank development. IBMA, on that sense, will serve as the collaborative platform for bullion businesses to build the mutually reinforcing ecosystem grounded in potential and regulatory compliance. In addition, the government also preparing what we call the tax incentive regulation to ensure fair and attractive treatment with the bullion business sectors. I mean, before the enactment of the bullion business, bullion bank business, the tax policy only know two players, the seller and buyers. With this revision of the regulation, we hope that we can put this bullion bank as an intermediary function, not treat as the same as the buyer and seller in usual transaction. We also develop other policies to develop this bullion bank industry. Right now, Indonesia is developing, try to well structure and well regulated bullion market, which include, as I mentioned, the establishment of Indonesian Bullion Market Association or ABMA. The formulation of the roadmap for financial institution done by our colleague from OJK. And then on the capital market, we also try to develop the gold-based exchange traded fund or ETF. So the capital market product that using gold as underlying. We invite global stakeholders to collaborate in setting standards, strengthening governance, and contributing to the development of trusted international bullion hub in Southeast Asia. We believe that through these joint initiatives, such as the developing of the standard, including the gold quality, accounting and deposit insurance, and public education program, Indonesia is building an inclusive gold ecosystem. We call on the international bullion companies, commodity exchange, global financial institutions to become a strategic partner to driving this innovation, expanding participation and ensuring the long-term sustainability of the market. With strong international cooperation, we believe and we are confident that Indonesia gold sector can become a new engine of growth, fostering a resource-based financial ecosystem and making a meaningful contribution to global economic stability and prosperity. With this, I'll stop here my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ferry Irawan.